the first thing I reflect on is just my entire experience in coming into college. I didn't have, like, basically I had no understanding of any of the processes or the structure of how my education would go, because I'm first generation, and I come from a family that didn't necessarily advocate for me going to college, and so I don't think Martha knew that about me when she first met me, but one thing that was helpful with her advising, at least, was just the way that she'd kind of always check if I understood what she was saying. Like,
well, it's a concept in communication.
Exactly.
Perspective taking, I think perception checking. It's to me one of the important pieces about teaching and developing relationships with students is don't assume that because of your understanding and your experience that that's going to cross over. And I think another important piece is don't assume that your experiences as a student, in other words, the kind of student you were as now that you're a faculty member, is some sort of standard or framework for students. I think faculty members, when they were students, were probably some of the nerdiest, geekiest, overly focused in some ways in education students are, and that's not a norm.
Just the communication and the part about just being approachable is two real key factors, because communication is really lacking in our community and our society, and that'll really help touch base with people if we can just keep that communication strong.
I think that's a really great point you make, because where we're going now, communication is personal communication is different today. But it's vital for everybody.
Yeah. Being here, he's helping me open up and just talk to people, and it's pretty much is a communication part, because I know people that been on campus that talk to me who's never talked to, that plays on like a sport, who has never talked to the athletic director before, or who's only in the business department and never been to Swinton before. But that's only because they're closed in still, and they haven't made that connection where they're ready to open up, or they haven't had people take them places to open up. So I'm just grateful that I've had that experience and had people there to help me out. So.
I'm from a place where you don't talk to your professor as your friend or your mom or your father. And really, for me, it was really hard to start to get to know my professor and have to talk to them as we are from the same family or just friends. It was hard for me because she's way older than me, and she's like my mom. So I couldn't just go to her and be like, this and that, say things about my life and everything, because I saw her as somebody who's not on my level. She's always telling me her stories and talking about her kids and her husband. And for me, it was surprising. I was like, how can a professor talk to a student that way? So that really helped me to kind of open myself to her and just go to her pretty easily.
She said, I'm very open, in the way we can have the true communication, not just in the for research, for whatever is the problem that they are passing, that I'm saying is, everyone has a problem. And then we need to be patient and solve the problem. And we continue, because if we want to do it, we can do it, and we need just follow, you need to study. If you want to cry, and then later study. Yes, and finish your work, and you can do it.
She tells me all the time that I can do it. And honestly, I do not really believe in myself. When I see something, I freak out. And I'm like, I don't think I'm able to do this. But all the time, she's always telling me, you can do it, you can do it. So that put me in a position where I have to challenge myself to be able to make it happen.
What some students really need and what Ernesto really needed was for me to be on the same physical level. There's a difference between what I could do at the center and what a professor does at the front of the class. So the professor is standing and the students are sitting. And that gives a little power dynamic. And really the communication started when I sat down at the table. I think that lowered the power dynamic. I don't know right off the bat if he even realized that I was the program manager at that point, because I was just sitting, it's like I was one of the kids.
Debbie had done quite a lot just by sitting at the table and kind of like breaking those barriers. And so I knew that I was in the right place. I knew right off the bat that she's going to be someone that will be there for the rest of my life. She's there to support me and help me. And from like being there, kind of like having that dynamic play out, the communication became more personal. It became personalized between each other. And I was able to open up to her and kind of put myself out there so she can like see where I'm coming from and where we can go from here.
I think another piece that I have found really helpful with students and being open and honest is I think they learn then that that's a healthy way to walk into relationships, a healthy way to communicate in the world in general. And I sometimes see faculty in discussion and or their advising relationships with new students, with beginning students, with students who perhaps have been marginalized in other contexts or are not the experience. You know, Mary talks about being a first generation, that they need to do things for them and they need to take care of business, and that maybe I should do it for them because they can't do it for themselves. And I have found just the opposite to be true, that I feel like my job and my goal and my objective with students is to help them become responsible and help them to understand the ways to take care of things themselves.